Cold calling is one of the most efficient ways to reach millions of qualified leads quickly and without breaking the bank. That's why some of the biggest consulting and SaaS companies still rely on cold calls as a primary source of generating leads. And with all the innovations in voice AI, I decided it was time to show you everything that I've learned about cold calling over the past 15 years. I'm gonna break this down into some very important subtopics. Now, just like cold email and most other forms of advertising, getting this right means that each piece that I'm going to teach you must be done correctly. If each link in your chain is not strong, then your whole chain will break, and it will be hard to figure out why it broke. And I'm also going to be dropping a few golden nuggets throughout this video. These were lessons that I learned the hard way, and they will save you tens of thousands of dollars in mistakes. Okay, here is the breakdown of this video. First, we're going to be talking about some fundamentals and psychology, and I promise I will share lots of tools and tactics, but these won't mean anything if your fundamentals are weak. Then I'm going to walk you through cold call offers and how to spin your offer into something that's going to get your prospect interested instead of just cursing you out on the phone. This includes scripting and some tactical things that you can say and do to not get hung up on. Next, we're going to discuss the cold calling team and some hard lessons that we've learned about hiring for this very complex role. And now the fun stuff. I'm going to be showing you the best tools and systems for dialing hundreds of phone numbers every day without getting flagged as spam. And I'm going to show you the best ways to automate the entire process. I'll show you how to get unlimited phone numbers to dial, including which databases to use and which to avoid. We'll discuss the role of AI in outbound cold calling as well as inbound. So if that sounds good to you, please take 30 seconds to show that like button some love so that YouTube shows you more money-making videos like this. And if you're not already subscribed to this channel, then you must hate your business. Now, I know you've got a short attention span, so let's cut this cake and get the sugar flowing. Let's address the elephant in the phone booth. The reality is that people don't like getting cold called. In fact, I cannot think of a single marketing tactic that elicits a worse response than cold calling. Even door knockers get some respect. But if you call someone during their busy workday or their precious family time and you try to sell them something, they will lay into you like a Latina girlfriend that just found out you commented on some other girl's picture. And no, definitely not speaking from experience. They will call you names that you've never heard of. They will make you feel like the scum of the earth. So if you're not ready for that type of abuse, then cold calling is probably not going to be for you. But with that being said, cold calling is still one of the most reliable ways to reach specific leads directly on their cell phones. And some of the biggest companies on earth still are able to do this very effectively. So how do you get a cold call right? Well, you dial a business owner's personal cell phone number, and yes, it does have to be their cell because business lines do not work for cold calls. And then they see a number that they don't recognize, and their phone starts ringing, or in most cases, it starts vibrating. Their curiosity is instantly piqued, and this is your cold caller's secret weapon, because that call could be coming from their delivery guy, could be coming from the hospital, it could be coming from the local police station. So a lot of people will answer the phone, but they will answer it with heavy skepticism. Their defenses are going to be up. And at this point, they're looking for any signs that you might be trying to scam them or to sell to them. So when they say those magic words, they say, "Who is this?" You are going to have to disarm them and then build trust quickly without getting hung up on. And don't worry, we're going to go over some proven scripts later in this video. And you need to keep in mind that they're probably in the middle of something. You have to deliver a message quickly and tactfully. Your goal is not to close this person on the phone. That is going to be close to impossible on a cold call. But if you pull it off, please leave a comment on this video so that I can interview you about it. Instead, your goal should be to pique their interest and get them to say yes to a follow-up conversation or to receiving more information. And once you get that yes, it is on you to follow up and close that deal. And we're going to talk more about this in the team section of the video, but it's important to know that the entire cold calling team fully understand what the goal is and to be okay with the backlash that they are 100% going to receive over the phone. Now, if I haven't scared you away from cold calling yet, then let's move on to the offer and the script. Now, this is by far the hardest part to get right, but if you follow these tips, then you're going to be a lot closer to having a working cold call script. Okay, rule number 1 about your offer script. Don't say anything that could lead your prospect to believe that you're about to sell them something. Business owners are smart and they can sense a pitch coming from a mile away. That's why the first thing out of your mouth cannot be, Hello, my name is Jay calling from Otter PR, because you're going to get hung up on before you can say your company name. Instead, you should start with this line. Hey, this is Jay. Just making sure. This is Peter, right? Now, this does a couple of important things. It answers the question of who is this without letting them know it is a company just yet. And it puts the ball in their court to answer a simple question whose answer is typically yes, because if it's Peter, they're going to say yes. And if you can get them to say yes at the beginning of the phone call, then your chance of getting a yes later in that call is much higher. Once they say yes, now you have to disarm them because they still think that a pitch is coming or a scam is coming. So the next line in your script should be, don't worry, I'm not calling to sell you anything. This will immediately drop their guard. And if you can say it with a sarcastic tone, then this is actually going to get them to start to trust you and open up so that you can deliver your offer. So now that you have their ear and their guard is hopefully down, you only have a few seconds to deliver your offer, deliver your line. And your usual boring pitch is not going to work here. You are not going to try and sell them anything. If you try and sell them something on this call, you will fail, especially if you try and sell them something boring that they don't need. Your goal should be to offer them something valuable as a solution to something specific in their company. What do I mean by that? Well, this is the hardest part to get right because it requires extreme creativity and understanding of your clientele. It's also super personalized to your business and what you offer. Typically, I like to recommend you have an amazing lead magnet. So once we figure out what that is, we're going to use this line next. I've been following your company and I've noticed your problem. I would love to provide the fix. No charge for this. I just love what you guys are doing. Would you be opposed to me sending that over, sending more information about that over? And as an example of what that looks like in practice, here's a cold call script that worked really well for us. Congrats on your company's growth. I would love to apply for a business award for you guys. I can 100% guarantee that you're going to win for your business category. There's absolutely no charge for this. I really just love what you guys are doing. Would you be opposed to me submitting that application? I just need your okay, and I'll get that done right now. Now, if you follow this framework, then you're going to generate a ton of leads that are saying yes to your lead magnet, to your micro offer, and they're pre-qualified because remember, these are leads that you've pre-screened and you pre-screen them before you dialed their number. Now your challenge is going to be converting that lead from your free lead magnet from a cold lead into a paying customer. That part is covered extensively inside of my course. But what we're doing here is we're pouring qualified, high-value leads into our system so that our sales team can process them and close them. Do your best to make the offer that you present on the phone as easy of a yes as possible. If you try and sell them something or give them hoops to jump through, they're probably going to say no. Now you may ask them to schedule a follow-up call at a later time or with your salesperson, but if you send them a link or you try and get them to book by email, try and keep them on the phone while they do it. Because if you hang up and expect them to do it, chances are they're not going to. Now let's talk a little bit more about the offer. The big challenge with your offer is coming up with a lead magnet that is good enough to get somebody on a cold call to say yes. Now I have a free training on my YouTube on how to create different types of lead magnets, but there is a much more extensive training inside my paid program where I show you how I developed all of my AI-powered lead magnets. But regardless of what you choose to offer, you should have a strong lead magnet inside of your business. This is going to power all of your marketing, from your cold calls to your cold email to your paid ads. Now let's discuss a couple notes about scripting. The beginning of the script is going to be pretty standard, and what I just shared with you is going to work for most B2B businesses. But the rest of your script is going to be much less scripted. Your team needs to be trained on how to handle objections and how to give just enough information to satisfy their question without ruining the offer. So take the time to build your database of objections and how to handle them. And you should continue to develop this database over time and make sure that your sales team is well versed in each objection. Now here's a few tricks to not getting hung up on. Remember that your prospect is on alert and ready for the pitch to come. Your goal is to avoid signaling to them that you're about to sell them something. And one way that you can do that is using a tonality that is not common in telemarketers or cold callers. Most people, when they are cold calling, will try and sound upbeat and professional, like they're calling with a purpose. And this might sound counterintuitive, but if you want to grab their attention in the first 3 seconds, instead of coming at them with a buttoned up line, try starting your call sounding just a little bit confused. If you make the prospect think that you're the one who needs help, they're going to be inclined to help. And you may have heard me do this earlier when I was delivering that first line. It wasn't, "Hello, Adam, this is Jay with Otter PR." The line was more like, "Hey, is this Adam? this is Jay calling. I have a couple questions for you. It's that confused tonality that's going to throw them off guard and drop their guard. Here's one other trick that's going to help you be successful in your cold call, and that's to actually help you sound happy while you're talking. If you sound happy, you're going to have less of a chance of getting hung up on. This is an old sales trick, but if you smile while you're on the phone and you're on your call, the person on the other end is going to somehow know that you're happy. Your smile will translate through the phone. And both of these tactics are very effective in dropping the prospect's guard and making them more receptive to your message. Now I should probably address one of the most commonly asked questions about cold calling. Is it still effective if you're planning to use cold callers, dialers that have thick accents, or maybe you want to be a cold caller, but you have a thick international accent? Well, the answer, unfortunately, is not going to surprise you. If you're building a team of remote cold callers and they all have thick international accents from South America or from East Asia, they're going to be less likely to generate leads, although they might be able to call at a much higher volume, so that might make up for it. And fun fact, the best accent for cold calling is the British accent. And this is true, funnily enough, in both the US and the UK. That's why a lot of the AI callers now use British accents. Okay, with that being said, let's talk a little bit about your cold calling team. Now, there's some hard facts about cold calling as a job. It is brutal, it's unforgiving work, and it will take a toll on even the most hardened salespeople. In fact, when we were building our cold calling team, we were hiring ex-military, and even they had a very high churn rate. So here are some of the lessons that I've learned building a cold calling team. And no, this is not the only way to do it. In fact, a lot of the stuff I'm going to tell you might not work for you at all, but if it helps a few of you, that's a win. All right, so the number one reason that cold calling programs fail is because companies are unable to keep people in the job long enough to be profitable. This job has an insanely high churn rate, so you need to be constantly recruiting and training with the expectation that you're probably going to lose 50% of your hires in the first 3 months. That means you're spending a ton of time and money on hiring and training, and most of the people you hire are not going to be profitable. And the 10% that are profitable will need to be promoted relatively quickly if you want to keep them. Now, here's a few tactics that we learned along the way to keep our team longer, make them more effective, and save you a ton of money. The most important person in your cold calling program is the management, the sales leader. You need a sales leader that's going to be actively reviewing cold calls, making sure that your team is hitting their numbers, and working with those that are struggling. But most importantly, this person needs to be the biggest goddamn cheerleader on your team. Pay this person a lot and incentivize them with bonuses if their team performs. And if you're just starting this program from scratch, you should find a killer that's going to start off cold calling and make sure that you have the intention of making them a sales leader. And you're going to face this struggle too. If you have somebody who's absolutely killing it for you as a cold caller, you're going to want to keep them there because they're making you a lot of money. Please promote them to being a closer. If they're valuable as a cold caller, they're going to crush it for you as a closer. And if you wait too long to promote them, they're going to leave. Now, maybe the first thing you're going to want to implement for your cold calling team is great tracking and gamification. Your cold calling team needs to see exactly how many calls they're dialing and how many opportunities they're generating in comparison to the rest of the team. There also needs to be some sort of gamification, such as a leaderboard and sales rewards. People need to see who's in the lead and who's going to win the prize for that month. We actually use a tool called Plecto, and Plecto helps us visualize sales data. It makes it really easy to gamify the data, the number of sales, number of calls booked, and then to celebrate the winners. Plecto will actually blow off fireworks and go off on our TVs when something great happens, so it's a really good incentive for the team, and they can clearly visualize who's in the lead and where they fall in the rankings. Remember, it's not enough for your team to simply hit their numbers every week. With the tools that I'm going to show you, making 500 calls per day is actually kind of reasonable, but I would much rather have someone make 200 dials per day and generate 10 opportunities than somebody who makes 500 dials per day and only has 2 opportunities. Make sure that your team has access to the right tools and resources so that they can be successful. If they have to struggle with technology and finding leads to call, they're going to fail because you're setting them up for failure. And we'll talk more about the technology in a little bit. Quick personal story from our cold calling team. We had somebody ex-military who needed to do this remotely. He was gung-ho, sold us on his tenacity, ability to make money, how many dials he was going to do, and we let him cold call from home. And he made 400, 500 dials a day, but produced almost no results. Compare that with our cold caller, Erin. She was in the office with us every day. She was doing about 250 dials per day, but was generating between like 10 and 20 opportunities every single day because she was putting the care and effort into each call. Now, a lot of people are going to hate this answer, so I apologize, but I think the only way to build a strong cold calling team is to have everybody under one roof. That way, your sales leader is there to keep everybody motivated and on track, and being surrounded by your colleagues who are in the trenches with you is one hell of a motivator. All right, so now that you have a basic framework for how to build a cold calling team and what the cold calling team should say in a script, now let's talk about some fun stuff. The tools that they're going to be using and the systems that will be in place to make it all work. Now, I was very tempted to make this video for my paid course only, but I decided to make it free so that I could help the most people possible. So if you want me to do more videos like this, then please take 5 seconds and hit the like button and make sure that you're subscribed to this channel. It means a lot to me. Thank you. Now, with that out of our way, let me give you the $1 million answer that you've been asking in your head this entire time, which is, where the hell do I get people's phone numbers from? And let me tell you that we went through every single database trying to find the tool that was affordable and also had accurate phone numbers. We tried Apollo.io, but to unlock the mobile phone numbers, it was an absurd amount of money. We tried Seamless AI, and they were very affordable, had mobile numbers, but the numbers were donkey manure. Then we tried about 10 more databases, and finally we came across a platform that allowed us to get unlimited personal phone numbers that were accurate for a low monthly rate. Before you start accusing me in the comments, like some other videos, of trying to push affiliate links, you should know that I do not have an affiliate link for the software that I'm about to recommend. The website is rocketreach.co, and they have no idea who I am. But we were using RocketReach to pull thousands of personal phone numbers every single day for a very reasonable price. Now, I probably shouldn't say just how much we were paying in this video, but if you send me a DM on Instagram, I'll let you know in private. Just send me a DM with the word rocket and I will tell you our rate. Now, I know a lot of you are listening and you're going to be inclined to try and save as much money as possible or use databases that you're already subscribed to. And I would love to tell you that you can just use any database and that the phone numbers listed for that contact are going to work just as well, but you're going to be very disappointed when you start actually dialing those numbers. Almost all databases that have phone numbers will list their business line. This is the publicly available line. And if you call those business numbers, it will almost always either go to voicemail or to some call answering service like we have at OtterPR. You will never reach the decision maker if you call the business line. Maybe not never, but if you're calling companies with more than 10 employees, chances are you're not getting the owner. If you want cold calling to work, you need personal cell phone numbers. All right, I wanted to give you a brief walkthrough of RocketReach, the tool that we actually used to get unlimited mobile phone numbers that were highly accurate and didn't have to pay a ton of money. So if you go to rocketreach.co, you'll kind of see their website. Now, one of the things that I wanted to point out here is in their pricing. So I don't know if it's changed. I will say they gave us unlimited phone lookups. We were paying more than this, so you may have to talk to them about something custom, but they were very happy to come to a unique deal with us. So you might have to reach out to them. But you would be looking at somewhere around probably $300 to $500 per month for unlimited numbers. Now, I do want to show you what RocketReach looks like and why it is so powerful for mobile numbers. And again, no affiliate relationship. And to prove it, I'm going to show you what you can also do to get more data from RocketReach Scraper, and you can have somebody either build you a RocketReach Scraper or go to Fiverr or find one that's already built if you want to get unlimited data. Just saying it's out there, not saying you should do it, absolutely not saying you should do it, but here's the back end of RocketReach and what it looks like. So what's so powerful about RocketReach is, let's come down here, contact method. So when you're searching inside of RocketReach, make sure to select mobile. That way you're only getting people's mobile phone numbers, and they have a large database of these and they're highly accurate. Now, when you go through and you're scraping these mobile numbers, you are going to get everybody's personal cell phone number, and people don't change their cell phone numbers. So you don't even have to clean it. Chances are it's going to be a working number. And as a fun experiment, I encourage you to do this. It's actually really funny. Go and search for yourself. If you're a business owner, go ahead and search for yourself and see what they have on you. Judging only by the first 6 digits that it has, when I searched for myself on RocketReach, they have my real personal cell phone number. So this works. Rocket Reach's data is on point. Your issue is going to be negotiating a deal with them to get unlimited cell phone numbers. Now let's see what this looks like in Apollo.io. All right, so let's open up a contact inside of Apollo. And with Apollo, we have a ton of credits because we have a grandfathered plan with them. So I would love to just use Apollo and get the phone numbers listed. But let's see what happens when I actually search a contact. So as you see, we have his work email. That's pretty standard. We have their business line, and we have request mobile number 1 credit. So let's see what these credits actually cost. If I want 2,500 mobile numbers, that's $500. 5,000 mobile numbers is $1,000 a year. This is like 1 day of calling for us. So this is just not a sustainable solution for us, and they were not able to work with us on the pricing. Now you're probably asking, but Jay, can I even call someone's personal cell phone number? Is it even legal? The answer, at least in the United States, is yes. Cold calling is 100% legal as long as you follow a few basic rules. So here's what you need to know about the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. Rule number 1. If a phone number is registered on a do not call registry, then you should not call them. But obviously, you're not going to check the numbers before you call them against the registry. So that's going to be up to the database you got the phone number from and the software you're using to dial the numbers. Are you responsible for calling someone who's on a registry? Maybe, but I doubt anyone's going to come after you for that. Rule number 2. You can only call between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. local time of the recipient. And I'm going to show you how to follow that rule really easily. Rule number 3, you need to provide your name and the name of the entity that you are calling on behalf of. Rule number 4, you should not use automated calls or texts without prior consent. And honestly, these rules are very, very easy to follow. So as long as you don't do anything stupid, you should be just fine. All right, so now you have an unlimited source of personal phone numbers with Rocket Reach, and you've got the green light for calling them. How the heck are you supposed to start cold calling? Should I just pick up my iPhone and start dialing? Well, after testing 6 different cold calling softwares and talking to everybody in my network that has tried cold calling, we finally found the best cold calling software available, at least for our needs. Now, before I just tell you the tool, let me tell you a few features that you should need your cold calling tool to do. Of course, the obvious, it should be able to avoid getting flagged as spam so that when the recipient sees your call coming in, it doesn't say likely spam on it. There's also now a lot of sophisticated apps on phones that will identify spam and make it not even ring your phone if it thinks that call is spam. So it's really important to use a best-in-class cold calling tool that's going to avoid this type of detection. If you're familiar with cold email, this is kind of the same thing. You want to do all of the best practices to avoid being flagged as spam. Calling systems have their own ways of identifying spam. The second thing that you need your cold calling software to do is be able to do lots and lots of volume. The reality is that most people are not going to answer your call. In fact, it can be as little as 1 in 10 dials that actually get through to somebody where they pick up. So what the hell are you supposed to do? Sit there and wait through each phone ringing for 30 seconds and then you get a voicemail prompt and then you leave a voicemail? What happens if they don't pick up the phone? Do you leave each person a unique voicemail? The answer is of course not. That would take forever. And I've talked to a lot of cold callers who still have to do this because their company doesn't have software in place and they're only able to do about 50 calls per day. Those programs are doomed for failure. Your cold calling software should allow you to dial multiple numbers at the same time, and they should only connect you with somebody once they've actually picked up the call. And anybody who doesn't pick up the call, you should have a voicemail that's left automatically on their phone that is pre-recorded by the person doing the calling. But that's not all. They should automatically be added to an email sequence of somebody who didn't answer the call. It all comes down to volume and systems. If you use the right cold calling software, each agent is able to do more than 300 dials per day and have about 30 to 50 conversations every single day. Now, the answer you've been waiting for. The tool that you're going to be using for cold calling is called Phone Burner. Believe it or not, this is the same cold calling tool that Alex Hormozi used to build his cold calling team for Gym Launch. Now, this one does have an affiliate program, so if you want to thank me for this video, please use my link down in the description of this video. All right, I'm not going to spend too much time on Phone Burner because honestly, it's a little bit complicated, but let's talk a little bit about pricing. Cold calling is not cold email, but the good news is you don't need 1,000 mailboxes. All you need is $127 per user per month, or $150 every single month. And really, that's not that bad for the volume of dials that they're going to be able to do. All right, so a couple of those features, I want to show you what they kind of look like: multiply calls and live connection. So this is the power dialer, allowing you to call multiple numbers at the same time and only connect once they answer. Next, workflow automations. So say they just get done with a call and that person was actually interested. All the dialer has to do is push the interested button, and that will trigger your workflow to put them into a cold email sequence, to send them a contract email or a next step email. That way they're able to do massive volume without stopping to send an email, to send a text, to add them to our CRM. All they have to do is click a button, and there's lots of different buttons they can click. Interested, not interested, picked up and wasn't interested, picked up and was interested. It's also really important for your cold calling software to have really good data. You need to know the quantity of dials people are doing, the quantity of interested dials, and the quantity of conversations they are having. And if you don't want to integrate another tracking software, you can just use this one to get a leaderboard for your cold calling team. But most importantly, you need to make sure that you're not getting flagged as spam. PhoneBurner is the only dialing platform that has a tier 1 carrier, so they're actually really good at actually getting through to the right number without being flagged as spam. If you try and use a cheap cold calling tool with cheap numbers, you're not going to get nearly the number of conversations, because you're not even going to know that those calls are showing up on the end user's phone and it says likely spam. The chance of them picking up are slim to none. Other things that make this software awesome are the integration with Zapier. You're going to want to trigger different actions, whether somebody picked up and was interested, picked up and was not interested, or did not answer at all. Now here's what PhoneBurner looks like on the inside. So once you come in, this is what your dashboards are going to look like for your cold calling team. They're going to upload their list of contacts, and then it's going to bring up the automated dialer to start dialing. But when you first come on board, you're going to want to come into numbers and purchase some caller IDs for outbound dialing. There's also some additional integrations like local presence. So if you want it to show up as a local number to where you're dialing, say you're calling people in California, you want a California area code. This way you'll have the same caller ID from that location, which will increase the rate of answers. You can also ask to rotate numbers to spread out call volume. It's kind of like cold email. If you do too much from one number and they're all flagged as spam, then that number can be burned. So there's different ways to avoid getting flagged as spam and to increase the rate of pickups and conversations, and this is a way to do it. You just have to talk to PhoneBurner and request these are turned on, and they will go ahead and activate these for you. There's also some other stuff that you should do, like reputation armor and carrier registration. These are all safety precautions that you can do to make your numbers more verified and more valid, so that when they come through as an inbound cold call, they look like legitimate phone calls. So I recommend doing all of these things and talk to PhoneBurner, and they should be able to help you out with that. So this is really cool. Crisp, if you've never used it before, is an AI platform that links with your calls. You can use this for Zoom. You can use it on your computer. You can add it as a Chrome extension. This will actually dull the background noise. So if you do have a big, busy cold calling center, there's dogs barking in the back, there's a vacuum, it will actually remove that in real time from your call. So this is a really cool feature of PhoneBurner that I think is going to make cold calling a lot better, especially in big situations like that. Here you can set all of the preferences for your dialing. All this stuff is important. Go through and set it as you want. But what's really cool is the dispositions here. Now it comes with some standard ones, and some of the dispositions, let's check the dialing set. So the outbound dispositions. Disposition is how did that call go? So all the caller will have to do once they're done is click live answer, voicemail, live voicemail, no answer, busy signal, bad number. So this is the status of the call. Did it actually go through? Did they answer? Did you get their voicemail? And then if they answered, it will show you a different set of dispositions. Should you set an appointment? Are they not interested? Should you follow up? Wrong number, do not call. All of these things should trigger different things in your CRM, so you know not to call that person again, that it was the wrong number. This will tell you how bad that data set was, if you should follow up, and you can adjust these and trigger different automations based off of them. Voicemail library. So all of your callers will have their own voicemails that they can push at the click of a button to actually leave that voicemail if somebody does not pick up. Now this is really cool. If you have a big team and you have a good script that you want everybody to follow, you can upload those scripts so that when your team is calling, they're able to quickly pull up those scripts and use them during the call. They have the ability to call transfer. So maybe you've got a really hot lead, you want to transfer them to a closer. they're able to do that through this transfer agent feature. Finally, allowed calling times. This is really important. And this is where I actually recommend that you set it during the hottest calling times. You don't want people dialing at 9 a.m. You don't want people dialing during the lunchtime. So this is really important to restrict and to give your team the best chance of winning, which means setting them up for success. Now here you can actually set how many contacts each individual user should have in their dashboard every day. Having too many, like 500 at one time, can be overwhelming. So I actually recommend segmenting this into those little time blocks. So if your goal is 400 per day, keep it at 200 and do 200 in the first time block of the day, 200 in the second time block of the day. You're also going to want to set up your email profile, because remember, it's not only enough to cold call them. If they are interested, you're going to want to follow up with them with a follow-up email or put them into a drip sequence when you're done. And you can do that with the click of a button with those disposition automations. And you'll have an email library, including a lot of templates. So for example, if somebody doesn't pick up, you can send them an unavailable or no answer email. That's, hey, I just tried to give you a ring. You didn't answer. Would it be okay if I sent over some information, or did I have the wrong number? Whatever you want that to do. So that's a little bit about Phone Burner. I hope you're ready to start uploading contacts and start cold calling. All right, now some quick tips to make sure that your program is successful. Very important. Focus your dialing hours on mid-morning and late afternoon. These are hours between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. and also between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. And remember, this is in the prospect's time. And you should make sure that you're dialing numbers from the same time zones in a given day. That way you can choose the best times to focus your dialing, and every number that you're going to be dialing is in the same time zone, so it's nice and easy. Now this is going to be really important for two reasons. Reason number one is you want to maximize the value per dial. Lead data is not cheap, so you want to make sure that you have the highest possible chance of getting through to that person. And reason number two is that cold calling is mentally exhausting, and expecting anybody to do this effectively for 8 hours in a day, straight, with no break, is just not realistic. You should focus those good hours on small bursts of dialing with a good break in between. This will make sure that your cold caller is able to make those dials with a smile on their face, because if they're exhausted and sad, your prospect will know. Now you should also set realistic expectations for your team, and these expectations should challenge them and should change based on what your top performers are doing. Ours changed a lot from the time that we started. We're like, okay guys, make 100 dials per day and 1 sale per day. That was all way off. The expectation was closer to 200 to 300 dials per day and 10 opportunities per day. In fact, as we messed with our offer and made it more appealing for cold calls, we started to get more and more opportunities, and the bar kept changing. It kept moving. Now, I don't know your industry and I don't know your offer, so it is possible that your top performer could be doing 10 book calls a day. But if you're in a more competitive industry, then you might only be able to hit 5 calls per day. And in general, you should be expecting your team to do somewhere between 200 and 400 calls per day, assuming they have a power dialing system. Finally, you need to connect your Phone Burner account to Instantly and to your CRM. And you're gonna do this using Zapier automations. We have about 8 of these that makes everything run really smoothly. If you're interested in copying my Phone Burner automations, then you need to join my Insiders program. It has a database of all of the Zapier automations that run my business. Alrighty, if you're getting value so far and you haven't already hit that like button, then please do me a solid and hit that one for me, and send this video to one of your friends who owns a business that would benefit from cold calling. I know you know an agency owner that needs to see this. Send it to them. Now let's take a few minutes and talk about the role of AI in all of this. Now I'm likely going to do an entirely separate video on AI dialers, but you should know that the technology is evolving really fast. When I first tested one of these AI sales agents back in 2023, I laughed at how bad it was. But now softwares like AI and Thoughtly, they're looking more and more like a viable solution. The agents are getting faster, they're getting more accurate, and they're sounding more human. Now legally, you cannot set up an AI sales agent and have it start cold calling people, because that would be in violation of the TCPA laws. And I'm honestly not sure how they're even going to enforce these laws, or if they're going to prove that a call is made with AI, but let's pretend for a second that you are going to get caught and fined if you use these technologies for cold calling. You're still able to use these sales agents for any inbound leads that you receive. Now, my company gets about 2,000 inbound leads every day, and that's across my different companies. I would need an army of sales agents to dial all of those leads as they come in. But using a tool like AirAI, I'm able to call every single one of those leads once they opt in on my website or my lead form. Now, I'm not going to go in depth on how to set up an AI sales agent in this video. It's probably going to be in my course. but I do want to spend a few minutes talking about some of the pros and cons, and then I'll just show you behind the scenes of one of my AI sales agents. I do think that this is something that you need to set up today and start to train it on all of the objections and FAQs for your offer. Now, even if you're not happy with the results of these AI phone dialers in 2024, I guarantee that by the beginning of 2025, you are not going to know the difference between an AI sales agent and a real salesperson. Prediction: I think these AI sales agents are going to replace inbound sales, and I think they're going to replace cold callers because they're getting really good at answering common questions and using a specific script. And they are not focused on building relationships like your closers should be. So don't worry, if you're a closer, you are not going to be replaced by AI anytime soon. Now, I've tried about 5 AI sales agent softwares. There's 2 that I feel like are worth talking about. There's Air AI and there's Thought.ly. They're both about the same price. It's like 10 cents a minute, and they're very affordable and easy to integrate with your CRMs like Go High Level. At the time I'm recording this, I don't even have an affiliate link, but if I do find one, I'm going to put it down in the description to go sign up for these platforms. I am actively training and testing my AI sales agent and support agent. Now, I don't believe they're good enough to deploy yet, but I have seen how far they have come since 2023, and I'm going to be ready when that key update comes that makes it fast enough and human enough. And at that point, I think anybody not using these AI tools is going to be in danger of going extinct. Just real quick, here's the inside of Air AI. This is one of my sales agents. You're basically taking it down a pathway of what the script is going to be, what the response is going to be, and then what your AI sales agent should say instead. And of course, you can attach knowledge bases so that it can work off specific information. And the real struggle here is the speed. The speed is very clear that it's not human. It's not able to process information and come up with a voice response quite fast enough and accurate enough. But compared to 2023, it is night and day. And you can connect this right into your CRM, so when somebody opts in, they get a call from your sales agent AI automatically. Now you can call the 2,000 leads every day with a real British man who's able to kind of follow a script and answer some common questions. Now, if you want to stay on the cutting edge of artificial intelligence and how we are using it in our sales and marketing, then you need to be a member of my Insiders program. We are adding new AI modules into the program every single month. And some of these tactics have literally transformed our business and completely changed the way that we do not only our marketing, but our sales. If you want to join my program and get access to my exclusive lessons, there's more than 100 that have never been seen on YouTube, and lots of resources like my AI chatbots, my trained GPT where it writes your cold emails and writes your scripts. The link to join is going to be in the description. And if you thought this masterclass was helpful, then you're going to love the masterclass that I did on cold email. Go and watch that next video by clicking on the thumbnail. It's going to be somewhere on this video, and I'll see you soon.